to share 5 tips and tricks that every climber should know, some things that I've learned along the way, and just some general guidance. So without further ado, here they are. Tip 1, don't climb in street shoes. I needed a new pair of trainers and thought I've never climbed in tennis shoes before, so let's try it. The reason I haven't climbed in tennis shoes before is a reason that I'll tell you in a little bit, but it's kind of gross, so stay tuned for that. But if you would, drop a comment, drop a like, share this content, and of course subscribe. It helps me out a ton, more than you know. Should you climb with street shoes at the climbing gym? Well, the answer is no, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Here's the deal. The shoes that I'm wearing are brand spanking new. They've never been worn out. They're straight out of the box with the price tag. And we're gonna see, number 1, they're not that good to climb in the first place. And number 2, it's kind of gross because you walk a lot of other places with your street shoes. And when you climb, sometimes you grab the holds that you also step on. So if you're walking in the bathroom with your street shoes and then climbing with your street shoes, you're also grabbing the place that you step on, which is kind of gross. Even though that these have Vibram soles, they were still nowhere near the stickiness of a real climbing shoe. And I was really surprised because I'm really good at trusting my feet. Well, sometimes. And I was trying to trust my feet, but they kept slipping off of these routes. And that's just because they're not climbing shoes. They're meant to be ran with. These are a pair of shoes that were team issued when I was a track runner, and they're really good on the track. They're really good to run in, but they are not good to climb in. These Adidas shoes are made in the same factory that 510 shoes are made in, so I had a little bit of hope, but then all that hope was dashed away when I realized that I really needed these wooden wood chips on the far left to give any sort of leverage to be able to push up on to get to the next hold, or just muscle up to the next hold, which is pretty much what I did because these shoes were pretty much worthless on the wall. If you're anything like me, then you know that climbing shoes can be really stinky sometimes. So what do you do about it? Well, I just kind of threw them in my bag and continued to do that for about a year until I realized that it was smelling my entire car up, my apartment was stinky, and something needed to happen. This is something called antifungal powder spray. There's some other things like it, but basically it just helps with the stink, eliminates a lot of fungus and other bacteria, and pretty much you just get this stuff, spray it inside the shoe, just like so. And also, I spray my feet after I climb sometimes too. That really helps with some of the odor, but it just makes things smell way better. And that nasty, gross toe smell is never in your shoes ever again. If you're anything like me, then you know that climbing absolutely obliterates your finger skin. So I wanted to show you a few tips and tricks of how I save my finger skin after I climb. It's actually super simple. I use this stuff. It's called working hands. And sometimes there's that burning feeling that you have after you climb because your skin is dead. But I put this on, it's a great moisturizer, and it really helps. Especially after I've done kilterboard, and especially after I've done splatterboard, and especially after I've done hangboarding. But honestly, any sort of climb, it really helps. If you're ever in the bouldering section and you see a brush on the ground like that, it's for this, brushing holds. One of the ways that your fingers are able to cling onto these holds is because there is texture on them, similar to a normal rock. When people climb, they use chalk, and some of that calcium deposit gets into the pores of these textures and cause them to be really smooth. So people grab a brush like this and aggressively brush holds, especially slopers like this. You might notice that this at a particular angle is good, but it's even better when you are able to grip onto it because you brushed it. After I brushed the route, it took a lot less energy to get to future moves because the moves that required these slopers, I was able to move right through because I was able to grip onto it much easier. So if you ever find yourself struggling on a route, especially when it has slopers on it, you should try brushing it. And if you see a route with a lot of chalk deposit on it, feel free to brush it. It'll make things a little bit better for you. You might notice that a lot of experienced climbers don't use socks. And you might think, weird, they're just walking around barefoot. But the thing is, a lot of modern shoes don't require socks because then there's less rubber and shoe material between you and the rock itself. So a lot of people just go barefoot in their shoes. But there are definitely some exceptions, and this whole phenomenon started in the 70s and 80s when people started wearing boots and realizing that if they were barefoot, then they could feel the rock and feel the texture a little bit better underneath them. But nowadays, if you want to wear socks because you got sweaty feet, or if you want to wear socks because you're borrowing somebody's other shoes, then that's okay. But feel free to try out no socks. The last tip, and frankly reminder for many of us, is to not beta spray. Routes are puzzles to many people, and sometimes we like to figure out puzzles on our own without getting any unsolicited tips and tricks from other people. And that includes you, and that includes me. So that's just a reminder, don't give unsolicited beta. It's fine to give the beta if somebody asks, but only if somebody asks. I really appreciate it. These are 5 tips and tricks that everyone should know as a climber, and 5 tips and tricks that have helped me out a ton. If you would, drop a like, subscribe, comment, share the video, and I'll see you next time.